you're in entrepreneurship, and it seems that you've been doing many entrepreneurship ventures, and I'll ask a question about that in a second. But it seems like you said you took that one business class, so you weren't mainly focused on business as a study,
Not
but
at
now you're
all.
doing entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Ask a question from your experience. What's your opinion if, let's say, someone wants to become an entrepreneur, they always know they want to go into business. What would you say for going to business school or studying at university versus not?
Yeah.
Because I've talked to people on the flip side that, in fact, the first guy on my podcast, so it's interesting having different perspectives. He's a videographer, entrepreneur, and he
Nice.
didn't go to school, and he thinks that was one of the best decisions of his life because he
Yep.
was able to get 4 years ahead right off the bat, right? Versus you'll obviously hear the flip side where you can also try different things, make new friends, make connections. So I'm curious your opinion on going versus not if entrepreneurship is what you want to do.
Yeah. No. I. You'll have to send me that episode because I definitely would like to watch it and get his
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah, I'll
But
send it.
I agree. I think 4 years in an institution where, I mean, I'm not sure what it's like in Canada, but in America, it's like two arms and a leg, to go to school,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Tuition is crazy. Um, Ultimately, if I didn't have a scholarship to go to college, I never would have went. To be honest with you, when I was in high school, I was already doing what I'm doing today, right? Like
Mhm.
I had an internship with a company back then that called World Video Bank, which was a direct competitor of WorldStar, and I was already designing and stuff for them, right? I wasn't getting paid, but it was a great amount of experience. Like shout out if you ever heard of have you ever heard of the brand New Regime?
Sounds familiar.
They're well, it's Canadian, right? But they're like global now. So
Mm.
the founder's brother was literally the guy that took me under his wing and like pretty much like I was interning for his company when they were building this out. So this was way before New Regime. They had a company called Benjamin Bros, and they would have like a bunch of clients and stuff. And essentially, I was um, a form of intern for them. But I was like 14, 15. It's like had no business doing this stuff, but I was just great at what I do. School ultimately, like college gives you a license to gamble. That's really what it
Mhm.
is, you know. And I don't think it's something that you need to be successful, but it gives you a license to gamble. If you have a 4-year degree, you can take time off and travel the world, right? And like take 2 years off, three, four, maybe like take 1 to 3 years off, and you can screw up and screw and like have fun or whatever, travel, try things, start a business, fail, and ultimately when you come back that fourth year, you're probably going to be relatively where most of your peers are as well, right? So it's weird. Like life is kind of like this marathon, but ultimately it takes it's you have to go it's well, it's not really a marathon. I think it's more like hiking, because you get to see different heights when you're actually on the journey of hiking, right? I wouldn't
Yeah.
really think it's a marathon because that's a different perspective, but it's like when you're hiking, you get to a point where you can actually see the peak of the mountain, but you're so far away. It's like you're really far away, but you're already seeing the destination. That's pretty much life. It's like if you want to become something and you're at the bottom, you can literally see some people that are successful at it. You see them in your community, on TV, at restaurants, right? At work, it might be your boss, it doesn't matter, but you get to actually see these people, right? And ultimately, you make decisions in life that get you closer to being like them, if not next to them, or competing with them, right? So, uh, personally, like it's this is a question that I feel like everyone has to answer on their own. But
Hmm.
personally, for me, if I didn't have a scholarship, I never would have went to college, and I still think I would have become probably more successful than I would have today because I would have took bigger risks back then and had a
Hmm.
4-year start. Right? It's like I probably would have moved to New York City, like as a 19-year-old. Right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know what that could have felt like, but I still had that hustler spirit in me. It's like I was literally building things when I was in high school and building platforms and starting these businesses. The difference is I had no money and no means to market it, and also like no one really took me serious back then, right? So, and I was living in Eugene, Oregon. Like you can't create a buzz in Eugene, Oregon. But ultimately, I think if you get a chance to go to college and you're blessed enough to go to college, yes, you should go and use it. But I don't think it's necessary to help you be successful because education will always be there. And here's another thing too. A lot of people I went to school with, they'll like they did the undergraduate degree and then they did a master's like right away.
Hmm.
Terrible idea. It's like you're going to be 24 with a master's, or like you're going to be 25 with an MBA. It's like you're not about to make the actual salary or the equivalent of that degree, right? It's like you can't walk into a job as a 25-year-old and be like, hey, I have a MBA and then I have this, and think you're going to make like that six-figure amount, or that double six-figure that you should be paid for that role with that degree. It's like, because ultimately it's experience, right? So it's like don't have that many years in you or proof of experience to actually do this. Like, so two things I strongly advise people: if your plan is to do something in the real world while you're in college and you can do it now, you should start it while you're actually in school, right? Whether that be videography, design, development, some forms of back end engineering you can, but not like civil engineering. Obviously, you
Yeah.
can't be a lawyer, you can't be a doctor, obviously, while you're in school or anything like that. But if it is any profession that you can actually do, but the degree just makes you look credible at it, start early, because I started designing when I was like 11. It's like my first website was like when I was like 8. I was creating
Wow,
blogs and stuff. So it's like
that's crazy.
you and it's crazy because in my era it's normal. Like I grew up in an era where we had MS-DOS, and that's how we used to program video games, right? It's like if you wanted to save money and not go to the video game store and buy your own copy, you would borrow it from a friend, bring it home, and you would program it, duplicate it, and send them back the CD, and you would also have the game. So it's like, once again, your environment, right? Survival of the fittest, right? Like your environment literally grooms you to either you swim or you sink. So if you're fortunate enough to be around the right environment, it'll push you to obviously be a specific way, which ultimately I'm like, the epitome of that. But more importantly, if you know what you want to do, don't let anybody tell you that you need to be a specific age or you need to have a specific degree to do it. Like, if you really believe in yourself and you have a passion for it, start today. It's like I guarantee you're going to beat whoever it is that person is that, that didn't want to give you that job or didn't think that you were good enough or whatever. As long as you just practice it, you go at it every single day, no matter what it is, unless it's medicine,
Mm.
legal or anything that you actually do need, the credentials for. But for most trades though, it's like, especially in this day and age, you have the internet. It's like you have social media, it's like capitalize on it. Like it was nowhere near what I had when I was getting started. It's like if you want to do something and if you believe in yourself and you truly have a passion for it, don't never let anybody tell you that you can't do it or that you shouldn't do it. It's like you know yourself better than anyone else. So you should just go for it. If you fail, so what? It's like people fail every day. The difference is you get to fail early, and that's way better than anybody else. Like what I tell my friends all the time, like, I've been an entrepreneur for a while. I've like in my earlier years, I had to kind of do like both. Like I work, like I'll take up like a contract or whatever it is for like a month or two because I'm like, shit, I got bills, right? And running a
Mhm.
business also costs money. I can use that as an influx into my business or whatever it is. And I did that for a while in it, like on and off. But I always think about this, and like I have a girlfriend that's like she's amazing and very understanding, and enables me to actually be the person that I actually want to be, and even better. Like she makes me better. And one of the things I always sit back about is like when we have kids and stuff. Like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur and everything, but like one of the benefits about the decisions that I made in life is that when it's all said and done, I can be 50 years old and I could go for a really good paying job because I have the type of experience that some people will never have.
Mhm.
Like I've made money out of thin air. I've sold products and services to people like myself, not hiring people to do it. I have managed people. I have hired people to do it. I have managed money, large sums of money. I have, mitigated risks. I've took a lot of losses. These experiences are literally like CEO experiences, right? I
Mhm.
could at least go to a company when I'm like in my 40s and at least be a director. So it's like I didn't spend 15 years after college working up the ladder. I did something that was fun and I pursued and I took risks and I made money and obviously lost money too. There are ups and downs, but I get to have a story that a lot of people wouldn't. But even if it all doesn't work out, I get to be at the same place as them. Like, how great is that? You know? So it's ultimately what I tell people is like entrepreneurship is really cool. There are some things that are a little bit different though. Like I was a firm believer that you couldn't be an entrepreneur if you had a full-time job, right? And I quit my job and I forced myself to make things happen. And I was doing like Postmates delivery in New York and
Mm.
stuff, and trying to make ends meet essentially, right? Because I really believed in myself and everything. But would I tell somebody to do that? No, I don't think that's the right idea anymore because there wasn't that much money to be made back then. Nowadays, wages are a lot higher. So I think if you have a job that pays you decently well and enables you to put aside like a few thousands every month at least, I would stay at that job and just like grind it out, work extra hours, like wake up early, go to bed late, and work on your business until it doesn't make any sense anymore. But back in my era, it's like, it was almost like a religion thing. It's like you got to be in it or you got to be out of it. It's like you choose. So, but this day and age, I would definitely say if you're making a good income and you have an idea, you have a business, there's no better time to start a business than when you have a job. Just like how there's no better time to look for a job than when you have a job. So
Hmm.
that's my two
Great
cents.
advice.